It was the year 1965, and in a remote village in Anatolia called Karadere, everyone was living their lives peacefully as usual. However, the village elders were whispering that this peace wouldn't last long. There was an old legend that had been told 4 generations. The Jinn will rise from the ancient well of Karadere and take over the village. Just outside the village, there was a centuries-old well that no one dared to approach. No flowers bloomed around it. No birds sang nearby. At night, anyone passing by the well would feel a cold shiver down their spine. The villagers often said that the well should be sealed, but no one had the courage to do so. One day, the bravest young man in the village, Ali, decided to go to the well, ignoring the warnings of the elders. "Jinn or ghosts, it's all nonsense," he said as he forcefully opened the lid of the well. As soon as he did, a chilling scream echoed from deep within, as if a creature inside the well was shouting in anger. Ali fell to the ground, his face as white as chalk. His eyes were wide with fear, and his hands were trembling. He ran back to the village, and from that day on, Ali never spoke a word and never made eye contact with anyone again. That night, strange things started happening in the village. First, the livestock began to fall ill and die suddenly. The cows mooed strangely in their barns, the dogs barked incessantly, and they seemed to be fighting with something invisible in the air. The villagers were baffled by all of this. One night, the village elders gathered and recalled the old legend, exchanging worried glances. "The Jinn have been released because the well was opened," they said. Just then, a gusty wind began to blow outside, and a dark shadow settled over the village houses. The sky suddenly darkened, the moon disappeared, and an eerie whisper filled the village streets. The windows of the village houses started to crackle, doors opened and closed on their own. People claimed to see black figures darting quickly among the shadows. One woman said she saw a tall, slender creature standing at the foot of her bed, staring at her, which terrified the entire village. The Jinn had invaded the village. The villagers didn't know what to do in their desperation. As the events worsened night after night, they sought help from the wisest man in the village, Hoca Veysel. Hoca Veysel said, "The only way to drive these Jinn away is through prayer and repentance." The villagers all went to the old well and began to recite the prayers that Hoca had instructed. As they recited the prayers, a dark smoke began to rise from the well into the sky. As the smoke ascended, the eerie whispers in the village grew quieter, and the shadows gradually disappeared. Finally, the dreadful scream from the well ceased. The villagers looked at each other in fear, but in the end, everything calmed down. Hoca Veysel closed the well's lid and sealed it. "This well must never be opened again," he said. From that day on, no one in the village dared to go near the well. The village returned to its old peaceful state, but that event remained as a scary tale passed down through generations. Villagers know that anyone who visits Karadere village must stay away from that old well, because they can still hear the whispers of the Jinn echoing from its dark depths.